everybody, welcome to another free episode of Mix with Daniel. I will show you some tips how you can get electric guitar and electric bass so that they don't fight but sound great. Topics are proper EQing of electric bass and guitar, multiband compression with sidechains and saturators. And we are here at the Jazz Campus where I teach, not at my studio. This time, because that was a request, I tried to show you how to deal with electric bass and electric e-guitars so that both together can sit in a mix nicely. Let's go. Here is the basic e-guitar and the bass without any processing. So obviously the first thing is to do proper EQ. A lot of people just filter away all the basses in the electric guitar. That's sometimes helpful. However, obviously we also want to keep the warmth of the guitar. So let's see how we can filter it. So for the bass we have an amp signal, DI signal. Both together is not a bad sound, however it's a little bit full, so let's EQ that a little bit. And as I have showed in the last video, I usually switch the analyzer always to off. I don't want to see an analyzer, because let me repeat this again because it's so important. I think if you're starting as a mix engineer, you have to train your ear, and if you try to see what the analyzer is showing, you don't train the ear. And furthermore, most of the problem that you deal with equalizers are too soft and you cannot see it in an equalizer. So that's why I switched that thing to off. And then it's a good trick actually, because it's not my studio, so I do it here quickly, to save this as a basic preset. And now you can do this in every DAW. Set plugin default to user setting. First you have to set this as a user default. Now it's saved as the user default. And now you can set plugin default to user setting. Now if you open up another one, actually it's just right there. In however, whatever you did, it's here. I think it's often quite a good idea to just see which quality do you have at different frequencies. Let's quickly hear the guitars. Let's hear both together. Now there are two important things. First, if the guitars have too much bass, then it gets in a fight with the bass. But second, the bass also needs a lot of highs in order to cut through to the electric guitar. So I would actually try to work on both. Get some of that bass out. Let's hear the bass too. Let's engage. Here. Let's copy that EQ. with that, it's already a lot more clear. Now, if you want to make the guitar heavier, you still... Now we can try to give some size. If that would be good in the mix or not, we don't know, but why not? Then, the other thing I said before, the bass actually also needs some highs. Upper mids. Let's try to equalize the bass better to give him some energy. Then another thing that I feel is very important is actually to look that the guitar really can cut through. Guitars need more highs, more bite. Let's try to give it. And I would make a combination of just a little bit highs and then at the same time try to make a more narrow band in the dynamic mode. The good thing with that thing in a mix is that it only does the highs in the phase of the attack. Let's do the same for the other guitar here, maybe in another range. And here a dynamic band. Let's see how this works together. Not bad. Now with the bass you can actually do something very similar. You could just make this bass band dynamic, so that in the first part of the bass, in the attack part, actually the bass gets louder. Bass is a little bit too soft. And that's already quite a big difference. A rather big difference. Okay, if it needs to be more drastic, actually multiband compressor is something quite interesting. What you could do is having a multiband compressor at the master or at the bus from the guitar. Let's quickly go there. So, and if you work with this multiband compressor, I like to work in sidechain mode, meaning I'm actually processing the guitars. I let the bass signal come in here. I already did a bus for this. You also have to engage this for every band that you wanted. If you press here this expert thing, you have to go here to external. So now you hear the bass through that compressor of the guitar. If you go out of audition mode, So what it does now, it removes bass energy on the guitar whenever the bass is playing. But if the bass is not playing, or if the bass now goes away, then all the bass energy that we left on the guitar is still there. And that should result in a much cleaner guitar sound. Let's hear it. Let's just quickly exaggerate it so that we really can hear it good. Let's do way too much. And as you can hear it, although it is too much, however, in a dance mix, it might actually even be right. So that is a very cool trick to remove bass energy from a guitar without actually really killing the guitar totally and taking all the bass away. If you would do this with the EQ, the guitars would just sound bitey and small. So let's hear this guitar with this multiband compressor. Whenever the bass is playing, actually the guitar loses some basses, and the result should be that the bass is way more clear. Let's hear it. I think with this guitar and this bass, it wouldn't be absolutely necessary because it's very good recorded. However, on a lot of recordings, moreover, if they come from home studio, actually this little trick here, removing bass from the guitar tracks whenever the bass is playing, is actually great. The same thing you could have on the bass track, a multiband. So actually with this multiband compressor, you can also expand dynamic. And if you expand dynamic, moreover, the attack on this bass, let's listen in solo mode. So actually whenever the bass player plays a note, you have more attack. And let's see how this sounds together with the guitar. It should give the bass more clarity. And let's now actually bypass this multiband compressor and the one that we had on the guitar and listen the difference on that one. And for sure, I think you can hear that this gives, again, clarity in the guitar, clarity in the bass. Let's now listen to the bass and the guitar and then switch all plugins off that we did today. So let me first delete the plugins we don't need. And now, okay, let's go. Let's a little bit compensate the output level because as usual you get louder. So let's make the new sound that we have softer by maybe some dBs at the last plugin. So okay, let's see with equal gain. So, and now maybe you remember the tutorial about equalizer where I told you that actually the brain of everybody, the brain of a musician, the brain of a sound engineer makes things much better than they actually are. If you listen here, the sound we have now, and the sound with all plugins in bypass, and this was the sound that you heard at the start of this lesson. Have you really noted that it's actually so boxy sounding, that there are actually so much fights? Again, I guess not, because that is difficult to hear. If you listen to that one, now the bypassed version that you heard at the start of the lesson, my guess is you would have thought that it was better, but it's not. It always needs work, and as I said in my last tutorial, it always needs more work than you probably think it needs. And this is really every time the case. Also, myself, I have not really heard how much work it needed. However, you do it until it sounds okay. And then the second thing is what I also said in the last tutorial. With every single plugin that we did, you probably thought it's only a small difference. But then many small difference makes a lot of difference. I show you one last trick, which is saturation in combination with what we already did. Let's actually use Saturn. And a very good idea is to make this in multiband mode. Let's first hear the bass. And just use a little bit more in the upper mids. Let's do this real quick. I often like something that does a little bit more saturation. That thing actually is like a good amplifier. And even if you already had a good amplifier, something more is always good. Let's hear it. And why not also do some saturation on the guitar? Let's see, as it's not my studio here, I have to look what they have. Decapitator is here. Let's use a little bit decapitator. Let's make it brutal. So this button E is often the most brutal sound that we have. Let's listen to the bass and the guitar with the saturation, and then I switch it off. Let's listen once more to the bass and the guitar with all the plugin engaged. And off. Yeah, and as you see, it's much clearer in which way it really would go in a mix. Of course, we would have to listen then together with the drums, and we would have to listen together with the piano. Maybe the guitar has a little bit too much harmonics now or not, maybe it's right. But I basically wanted to show you some tricks how you can deal with electric bass and the electric guitar. So thanks for watching, ring the bell, post some comments, ask some questions, and see you soon. Bye.
Hallelujah.